Hello everyone. Today I have a very important session for you all. The topic is the importance of language and its relationship with national identity. What is national identity? Let me tell you. National identity is a person's identity or sense of belonging to one state or nation. For example, my nationality is Indian. It shows my identity. Identity also includes traditions and culture and religion, which is followed by an individual and a community. It also includes language. As we know that India is a multilingual country from north to south, east to west, people speak different languages. People have their own regional languages which play an important part in their identity. So in this chapter, we'll talk about language and national identity. What is language? What is identity? And what is national identity? Nirmal Verma is the author of this essay, and that's his sign name. This is an essay which was written in Hindi. The original title of the essay was Bhasha aur Rashtriya Asmita. The compilation of a series of essays was put together in the book Dusre Shabdon Mein. Originally, this essay was written in Hindi, which was later translated in English. The translation was done by Tripti Jain. Who was Nirmal Verma? Let me tell you in brief about his background. Nirmal Verma was born in Shimla. He was born on 3rd of April 1929 and he passed away on the 25th October 2005. Nirmal Verma passed away in Delhi. He was a Hindi writer, novelist, translator, and activist. Earlier, life in India was very ordinary. Over time, we have seen many changes in our country. Nirmal Verma was one such activist who ruminated on the changes happening around us. He was one of the pioneers of the Nai Kahani literary movement in Hindi literature. The period of this movement was approximately from the late 1950s to the early 1960s. He wrote this book to create awareness in the society. Nai Kahani had stories that highlighted gender issues. Today, men and women are treated equally, but there was a time when women faced inequality. Gender stereotypes was all around. Women were only meant to manage homes, children, and the needs of the family, whereas men were encouraged to get education and employment. This inequality was far and wide. There have been many movements for women's rights for decades. The result of such protests has given women an equal status in the society. Women in rural India have been able to taste some independence as a result of such movements. Some of them could move out of their villages from towns and cities for a brighter future. This was a movement when urbanization took place. This resulted in increase in population in the cities and decrease in the villages. People began moving to cities from the villages to pursue big dreams of a better education and good paying jobs. This was the time when women began taking up jobs and becoming independent. However, they were discouraged by the society and were questioned on their abilities. They had to face many challenges. These challenges and issues were highlighted by Nirmal Verma. People living in rural India built big dreams of city life. Good job opportunities, education, they had high hopes. However, moving to cities burst their bubble and life was nothing like they imagined. Some found jobs while others remained unemployed and they struggled to find their footing. Making ends meet was a struggle for them in cities. The financial challenges were not few. They were better off living in the villages as they had their homes, food from their crops. They were better off in many ways in the villages. Moving to cities came with its own set of financial issues. The issues were unending and they were stuck in a vicious circle. Movement of people from rural to urban areas resulting in the growth of cities is called urbanization. Now we'll discuss about this topic. Moving to cities did not guarantee jobs. This created a negative impact on the lives of the villagers. Nirmal Verma wrote of these pitiful experiences of many Indians during the urbanization movement. The author used his pen to bring forth these issues to the government, administration, and the rich class. He wanted the government to pay attention on the miserable condition of the migrants. That is why he started a movement by writing essays to make the government understand about their conditions and bring an end to their sufferings. Nirmal Verma was recognized for his brilliant work in Hindi literature. He won many awards including the Janpath Award, Sahitya Akademi Puraskar and Padma Bhushan. This work is very significant as an Indian work in translation as the original essay was written in Hindi. Further in this essay, Nirmal Verma establishes a connect between language and national identity. Let me tell you about this. What is evolution? Let me tell you. Evolution is the progress from ancient times to now. It is the development of humans from the caveman age to today. It is a process of physical change which occurred in human beings. Since ancient times, many things have been discovered and invented like fire, light, tube wells, and many other things. But today, all those things are not the same as before. Everything is transforming day by day. Because of evolution, we are developing. And this development has come about through language. This is how language and human evolution are interlinked, which is very important. As we all know that language defines us. Is evolution of language possible without human beings? No, it is not possible. Language is a key of communication between two persons. We can communicate because of language. The author has explained this by giving an example. When we walk, we see a shadow which forms behind our body. Can we remove that shadow? Is it separable from our body? No. It is inseparable. Likewise, language is the means of expression for humans and therefore cannot really ever be separated from identity. Language helps to define us. Language is the key to growth and development. It helps us to think, imagine, build new thoughts, and be creative. Hence, language is very crucial for us. As we are unable to cut off our shadows from our body, similarly, we cannot cut off the connect between humans and language. This connection is lifelong. Language shares a connection with humans and humans have an identity. The identity depends on gender and where we are from, nationality. I am an Indian. Our identity defines who we are the community, and the religion we belong to. This is our individual identity. Verma also defines scholars like Nietzsche and Sri Aurobindo, who were learned individuals. Individuals have innate skills. No one is born without having any skills. All are born with some potential. Let me give you an example. After birth, a child grows gradually. The growth is not only of the physical body, but also of the brain, the mind. This happens through the constant incidental input received by the child by sight and sounds. This helps in the evolution of potential skills and capacities of a child. Thus, language plays a major role in the development of human beings. The evolution of man from Stone Age to date, we can see the major changes humans have gone through. During Stone Age, the cavemen hunted animals and ate raw meat. The discovery of fire, cooking meat over fire, to proper cooking methods, humans have come a long way. The journey has not been the same. Every step we evolve, our traditional methods change for the better. These efforts to achieve completeness is to achieve the power similar to God. This means man strives to become better, improve, grow, think, discover, and evolve. All this is possible through the bond man shares with language. When we look at the past, we see that the life was very ordinary. People did not take conscious efforts towards self-development. Over time, people began to think. New ideas and thoughts came to their mind, which led them to the development. When they began to focus to make their life better, they evolved. Introspection is important because it helps us to do self-analysis. It is a self-examination of our mental and emotional state. Through this self-observation process, people learn from their previous mistakes and correct themselves. This helps them in their improvement and progress. Let me give you an example. Earlier, deaf people used to depend on hearing people. Why? Because literacy skills of hearing people was better than deaf people. Gradually, they began to improve their skills and develop their knowledge to stand on their own feet. Now they can do anything on their own and they are no more dependent on anyone. So it is important to put efforts for the growth and development. Let's take an instance. An apple falls from the tree to the ground. However, the man is not curious enough to investigate, to think, and to ponder on the whole process of the apple falling to the ground. With such an attitude, we would never get to learn new things. What important is, we need to be attentive. Isaac Newton was curious enough to start questioning the whole action of the apple falling to the ground. And that curiosity and questioning mind led him to discovering the gravitational force. This is how mindful thinking helps in our growth and development. What is the significance of language? Language is important because it helps us to create new ideas, thoughts, feelings, and actions. For example, thoughts come in the mind of a deaf person not in spoken language words, but in the form of sign language. Thoughts and ideas built in their minds in sign language. All humans do not speak the same language. It varies from person to person. Hearing people are proficient in their own languages. They don't think in sign language. Thoughts come in their minds in the form of a language of words. For example, a Hindi-speaking person thinks in Hindi language. Similarly, all the people think in different languages. Building thoughts is a continuous process. It is conscious as well as unconscious process. Thoughts keep coming to our mind. Usually, people have that eureka moment when they are just sitting and having tea, or they are bathing, then suddenly they'll have that sudden thought which could change a lot of things. This happens because of language. People become genius, expert, and intelligent because of having knowledge of language. That is why human shares a very significant bond with language. The author has talked about a word, distilled wisdom. It means wisdom that has come from great masters. It is not the strength of leaders to protest or fight. It is the wisdom gathered out of experiences. Many times, negative thoughts come to our mind for ourselves, which constantly make us think that we are incapable of doing things, which is not right. We have abilities to do anything. All we have to do is self-introspection. We cannot just say that I cannot do without examining ourselves. We need to put a step forward in order to accomplish the task, and then we will realize that we have potential to do anything. This is how we can succeed. Here we have an example. Nietzsche defines potentiality and its ultimate realization as Superman. Superman can do anything. Same way, humans can do anything. That is why people should not demotivate themselves. They need to act step by step and wait for the results. Eventually, they'll realize that they are succeeding. Everyone has potential strengths. It is important to oneself to identify our potentials and as how we put our brain to work. All we need is dedication and the zeal to accomplish something that we love to do. Moving this way will lead us to our development. The process of recreating and reinventing ourselves requires digging within, which means to introspect our thoughts and actions and evaluate them. Let me give you an example. Just as we have to dig deep into the ground to find groundwater, and deep mining is done to find the minerals, similarly, we have to dig deep to find out innate qualities, potential, and skills. Introspection is important for self-awareness, development, and better understanding of ourselves. Also, it is the examination of our conscious thoughts and feelings. This helps us in removing negative thoughts from our mind and gives strength to improvise ourselves. Some people do not have zeal in them for doing any work and are lethargic. They tend to lose their energy by saying that they cannot do anything. Negative thoughts always come in their minds. Everyone has the potential to do anything what they want. All they need is to identify and understand their skills and abilities for their development. What is the meaning of the term resurrection? Let me tell you. During the Second World War, America planned an explosion of atomic bombing over the cities of Japan. The air offensive against Japan created massive destruction. The affected cities and towns were completely devastated, and the explosion killed thousands of lives. It was a terrible loss for the country. But today, Japan is one of the largest and most developed country in the world. After the tragic loss in World War II, it was almost impossible for Japan to rebuild and redevelop their country. Despite of being in this terrible situation, Japan did not lose hope and continued to reconstruct the cities and towns which was demolished. This is resurrection, which means rise again from a destructed mass. In this particular context, it means that as we grow and evolve, some of our thoughts, ideas, beliefs, and actions become redundant with time. It is because of the development in new ideas and technologies. Sometimes we feel that we could not adjust with these new trends. Let me give you an example. Technologies used in older days are not the same today. Many new technologies have been created with time. Old technologies are not in use. We go through an entire learning process in our life. So what we have learned earlier, there may be a requirement to unlearn it and relearn something new. Let me give you an example. Since we are open to trying out new cuisines, so why should we not be open to accepting and learning new things? Learning should always be continued throughout the life. Let me give you an example. Earlier, there was a traditional way of plowing the fields. Later, with the invention of new agricultural equipments, it was implemented in the farming. Also, in the modern era, people who lived in the olden days did not know the use of computers, internet, smartphones, because that time these things were not in trend. But still they tried to adapt and learned how to live with these technologies. Similarly, learning should always continue for lifelong. Let me give you another example. As we know that education is very important, they say that there is no end to education and we learn till our last breath. That is why we should never stop our learning. Further, Nirmal Verma asserts that language is a tool. Let me tell you about this. He says that language is a tool of the self-discovery and analysis needed for realizing innate potentialities. According to him, an invisible, inward-looking, contemplative gaze gives man an insight into self, and there is an interesting link between language and self-awareness. Without language, is it possible for us to be creative and express our ideas and thoughts? No, it is not possible. Thoughts and ideas enables in people's mind with the help of language. Language learning never stops. It is an endless process which continues throughout life. Let me give you an example. Infants and children progress through a series of growth stages. They play and act according to their age. All these changes in a child, from childhood to adulthood, come through the influence and exposure to language. We are evolving because of language. How is language processed in our mind? Let me tell you. There are learned and experienced individuals in our society. We learn and get inspiration from them, which motivates us to do better in our life. This development is possible with the help of language. Our mind never stops thinking. Even though when we are engaged in other activities or we are engaged in conversation with other people, subconsciously we are still processing thoughts and emotions, planning what to do next after this engagement is over. Let me give you few examples. Before recording a video, I think and clear the concept of a subject which is to be recorded. Simultaneously, other thoughts also process in my mind, like what should I cook for dinner? Similarly, when we talk, thoughts come quickly one after the other. They may be about one subject or many different unrelated things. So our brain never actually stops thinking. Culture evolves because of social change. We can say that culture grows through reality, dreams, and aspirations, all of which emerge through a language, and therefore, language is a key factor in shaping of a culture. Let me give you an example. Since ancient times, there are different groups of religion which have been followed by the people of different communities. For example, earlier, people who belonged to Hindu community would speak in their own languages. and that language passes on from one generation to the next. In this process, does language always remain same? No, it changes generation by generation. It is constantly adapting and changing. This is how language is growing, which reflects our changing lives, experience, and culture. Further, Nirmal Verma elucidates his views on language as a tool of self-discovery and analysis. Let me elaborate. How do we process thoughts in our mind about our past, present, and future? Through language. We were not present in the year 1947, but we are always curious to know that what exactly happened during that time. In the year 1947, India was captured by the Britishers. People of India were exploited and oppressed by them. Then eventually, Britishers had to leave India after many movements and protests against them. And India got independence in the year 1947. It was a joyful moment for all the Indians. Also, there was a time when the land of farmers was captured by the rich people. Those farmers had to depend on rich people for work and they were not getting paid enough. This is how poor people faced exploitation by the rich people. We ponder of the past incidents with the help of language. We were not present in the olden days. But how are we able to empathize the sufferings of other people? Let me tell you, any incident when it happens is talked about among the people. These get carried ahead in the form of stories, published articles and literature which is passed on to the next generations. These are also turned into films, television series. This flow of information in various forms from generation to generation helps us feel and experience some of the past of our ancestors. This is all possible through language. We all think and plan for our future to get an education, job, and a settled life. We visualize the thoughts which build images in our mind. This becomes possible only because we have language for thinking and expressing in. We acquire knowledge from the older generation. They contribute in our development by teaching moral values. We learn different skills from them which help us in our progress. And then we repeat the same thing by passing this knowledge to our children. Sharing knowledge helps in building stronger bond with the children. We gain the life skills from our parents and elders. So the role of language is very significant in our development.